Hi, welcome to our class, Research Methods, and my name is Dr. Vicki Denny. And during this introductory video, just want to define some terms and give you an overview of the research process that we'll be conducting during the course of our class. First of all, when we talk about research is nothing more than a systematic way to solve problems. And so here are some 5 characteristics of good research. First of all, it needs to be systematic. That means that you're planning, you're identifying, designing, collecting data, evaluating in a very systematical way, as well as logical. You're going to examine the procedures in order to evaluate what conclusions you come up with. It should be empirical, and that just means that you're basing your decisions, your conclusions on the data. What does the data say? Good research also is reductive, which just means that there are general relationships that are developed and established from the data that you collect. And then it should be replicable. Actions are recorded and then can be replicated by others. So, as we talk about research, think of it as a way to solve problems. And it's a very systematic, logical, empirical, reductive, and replicable way of doing that. When we talk about physical activity, we have lots of different terms we may use. Here are some terms that you should be able to define and describe how these terms would relate to one another and also how they are connected to the world of physical activity. Some of these you actually have had full classes in, but all of these would encompass research in the area of physical activity. And you might have strong interest in one or more of these subdisciplines of the field, but I do encourage you to go through and see if you can actually define each one of these terms and then how those terms would relate to one another. When we talk about quality research, specifically what we're looking for is we talked about you're a problem solver. So as you conduct research, you first of all need to define the problem. What is the problem specifically that you're trying to answer? And also being able to delimit or narrow down the problem. So you're able to identify it and be able to define it in a very controlled way. And then you're going to search, review, and write about what about this problem and what has been done already in this area by becoming familiar with research. And this is a very important step as you go about the research process. Finding out what's already been done in the area, what needs to be done. After you identify the problem, after you're able to read the research and see what has been written on this topic already, then the fact of now you're going to come up with a hypothesis that you want to test and see what you come up with. So specifying and defining testable hypotheses, important part of research. Then you want to design your research to test the hypotheses that you have established. And you would do that by selecting, describing, testing, and treating the participants. Who are you going to study? How are you going to select them? How are you going to measure different aspects? And then how you're going to analyze and report the results. So good research will involve all these things. And then finally, you'd also discuss what does it mean once you come up with your results. What's the meaning of those results, and then implications of your findings for future research. As you become a problem solver, as you become a researcher, it's very important that you do read. And you want to make sure you're familiar with relevant publications in your area. And there are numerous publications out there in the area of kinesiology. And again, depending on your area of interest, you should become a consumer of research, reading studies that interest you. Try to read as a practitioner would, someone out in the real world who's practicing in the field. It's always good to read the abstract first to see if the research article that you're viewing is one that you want to read in depth, if it's something that you're just kind of interested in, or if it's maybe a research article that you do not have interest in. So read the abstract first. That will kind of whet your appetite and see if in fact you want to read the entire article. Let me make a point here. It's important that you do read the entire article. If it's an article that you are interested in, don't just read the abstract and move on. Make sure you read the complete article. Again, in each one of the studies you read, there'll be a lot of statistics. Depending on your background, you may or may not be well versed in statistics. Don't worry too much about that. Try to get the general gist of what the writer is reporting. And as you move on, you will be taking courses in statistics that will help you be able to understand perhaps a little more. And try not to be too critical. Try to be objective as you go into reading a research article. Try to go in without preconceived ideas and see what does the researcher report. So, as we think about research, it's really the old scientific method of problem solving. And you learned this scientific method probably back in 5th grade. So let's just go through them. First of all, let's define the problem. Define it, delimit it, which means narrow it down. But, what's the problem that we're trying to get an answer to? And then step 2 would be, okay, let's formulate a hypothesis. Based on what we know, what do we think we will find? And after you gather your data, the next step would be to analyze the data and then interpret your results. As we talk about research, there will be various types of research that you'll read. And actually, about a third of our textbook talks very much in detail about these different approaches to research. The focus of this class will not be over all these types of research, but you should be familiar with them. Analytical research includes historical research, research reviews, meta-analysis reports, which often will take an area of research and we'll do all the studies in that area and do a statistical analysis. That would be called a meta-analysis study. Descriptive research, which would include questionnaires, interviews, surveys. Other types of description research, case studies, job analysis, observational research, developmental studies, and correlational studies. Epidemiological research is often done in the area of exercise science as they look at different types of health issues as it relates to different populations. Then experimental research, which I have starred, this will be the type of research study you will design as the major project in this class. So experimental research will be our main focus as far as type of research, which establishes a cause and effect relationship, but you will be reading in all these different types of research as you prepare your literature review. And then finally, qualitative research, which uses a completely different paradigm. I am a big proponent of qualitative research. I actually did my doctoral dissertation in qualitative research, but again, it's not the focus of this class this semester. So as we finish up Chapter 1, I just want to review the parts of your research study as you begin to think about what it is you want to do a study on. You will provide these various components to your final research study. You will do an introduction, which will include the problem and the hypotheses. You will have a literature review. You will include a method section where you identify participants, instruments, procedures, and then your design and your analysis.